So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rib protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next, well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
We're at a commercial break.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Whiteland Raceway Park. This is round 3 of the Indy Karting Challenge. My name is Alexander Searle. With me here in the booth is Caleb Viesca. Now, if you're just joining us, you haven't missed a whole lot. Just a handful of classes so far have hit the racetrack for their warm-up sessions. And after the warm-ups, we'll get set to go for some qualifying action. Caleb, what can we expect today?
Yeah, I mean, well, firstly, good morning, Alex. It's a great day to wake up and to get green with some kart racing. So good morning to yourself and to everybody around the paddock and watching live from wherever you may be on Kart Chaser. But yeah, I mean, we're expecting a great day of racing here at Whiteland Raceway Park, a very unique racetrack deep in the heart of Indiana. With a lot of different corners, a very physical track that a lot of drivers can expect to encounter here today with some banked corners. But if you're asking what can we expect, I mean, great racing the entire day, some hard racing, side-by-side racing the entire day, and some very fast sections just like this going into this banked corner. So we're expecting to have a great day of racing, and I'm super excited to get it going here, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is a very technical racetrack, a fast racetrack, and a quick lap time, should I say. I mean, to be doing, 37 seconds here for some of our KA guys, right? One of the smaller tracks that you'll see lap time-wise, but one of the more physical ones, like you said, bumpy in sections. That banked corner is awesome to drive on if you haven't. And here we're seeing our provisional results for the KA Senior warm-up sessions. This gives you kind of an idea of what we can expect in the qualifying and the heat and feature races later today. We had Jackson Dial top the timing sheets on a 37.4, puts 5/10 on the field ahead of the likes of AJ Lund and Lane Gibbs there in third. So yeah, the KA Senior class and KA Masters in the same category there. Always put on a good show. And this is a good start to the day for, I'd say, Jackson Dial.
Yeah, not too bad to start off this day with a very good opening day for warm-up. There's a lot of racing action getting set to come our way throughout the day. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we have around 9 classes. I'm going to pull up our schedule here, if you guys will just bear with me here for a moment. I'm going to pull up our schedule, and we are set to go green for qualifying at 8:45 Eastern time with our 2:06 Masters. So I believe we have 6 classes here today. So 6 classes here in this one, and that's going to be for the first part of our day, the AM classes, as you could say, and then later on today for the PM classes, we're going to have another 6 as well, with 206 Sportsman, 206 Medium, 206 Junior, 206 Masters, and then your KA Senior and Masters will be going out on track together, and then your Karts will have a final race at 1:50 p.m. Eastern. But that's all coming your way here shortly. And then we're going to get set to go green in a little bit with our 206 Masters here in a second, Alex. So I guess you could say 2 halves of the day with a lot of racing action. I mean, how are you feeling coming into it, right? You're a little more familiar with this racetrack than I am. I mean, what can we expect, Alex?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, in qualifying, this is not one of those tracks where you're going to see drivers go out there and try to tuck behind each other and draft, because the draft is important here. You have that decently long front straightaway, a pretty fast turn number 1, as we can see on our screen. But other than that, I mean, it's a technical racetrack, and I think it favors drivers who can go out there and just put a flyer down. We saw at Jackson Dial, he put 5/10 on the field in KA Senior, which is unheard of, right? So this is a track where in qualifying, it benefits the guys that just can go out there and really, set the banker lap when it matters, usually lap 3, lap 4 here for our qualifying sessions. Only 5 minutes, of course, but 5 minutes for a qualifying session where it is 5 minutes of qualifying where it is a 37, to 45 second lap, depending on the class that you're in. I mean, it's a long qualifying session considering. So a lot to expect here. Only 5 minute plus 2 lap heats and then a 9 minute plus 2 lap final. So the races are decently fast and decently quick. And so I think we can expect, like you said, great racing, technical racetrack, and it favors the drivers who, again, can go out there and really put a lap together when it counts. But in the races, as we've seen in rounds 1 and rounds 2, this track never fails to excite. It always really comes down to a last lap battle there, because at the end of the day, even on a track like this, where maybe the draft isn't as prominent as you'd see at a larger racetrack, it's still a thing. And so, with those banked corners, fast-flowing corners, like we saw on the backstretch of the racetrack, we have a fast chicane, like we see on our screen, super fast chicane into a flat-out banked corner. Awesome racetrack to drive. A couple braking zones here, a couple passing zones, and we'll find those as we get through into the heat races, obviously later today. But yeah, I think we're in for a treat here.
Yeah, a treat indeed. But racing action gets set to go green here in a little bit, and we've also just gotten word that we are in, I guess, everybody's ears in and around the paddock. So to those of you in the paddock, good morning, and hope you guys have a great and safe day of racing. But we do get set to go green for racing action at 8:45 a.m. with our 206 Masters. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge. Don't go anywhere.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace, because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Welcome back to Whiteland Raceway Park, round 3 of the Indy Karting Challenge. My name is Alexander Sor. With me in the booth is Caleb Vieska here. We've just seen our opening slate of warm-up sessions here at the beautiful and technical Whiteland Raceway Park here. You look in the sky, not a cloud to see in the sky, a beautiful blue day here in Whiteland, Indiana, so it's always good to see here in the Midwest. You see the flag stands there, decently windy out, so it's good to note down the front straightaway we should expect a possible headwind, back straight, a possible tailwind, but yeah, around this racetrack here, and we'll see it more as qualifying gets underway, but a pretty fast-flowing racetrack here. There's the beautiful weather, 44 degrees out, but look at that. We love to see the sun all the way across throughout the day. A bit of cloudy in the afternoon, but for Indiana, for the beautiful Midwest here, always good to see. So, on the racetrack, as it stands right now, this is our first qualifying session of the day. It's 206 Sportsman. It's going to be Austin Taylor, Danny O'Gara, Titus Roberts here, Will Feichtinger, Blake Martinez, Kason Hendrickson, Dylan Thomas here, Lincoln Wiley, Hudson Howard, William Vector, Cadence Peebles, Trip Golnick, Dominic Gaddis. It's going to be Zachary Pleak as well, Max Zile. It's going to be Jordan Lappin, and it's going to be Dalton Sears. That's going to round out your 18 kart 206 Sportsman field there, with Elam Stoner as well. So a lot of go-karts here in the 206 Sportsman class. Like I said, it's only a 5-minute qualifying session, but at a racetrack where on the 206 Sportsman side you're doing roughly a 45-second lap, you're still going to get a good amount of laps here for a qualifying session. So let's see if these drivers, the first 2 laps are just going to be kind of the warm-up laps to get the tire up to temp. Obviously 44 degrees out, so you shouldn't expect tire grip to come in immediately for you guys. So once these drivers get slotted in line and figure out where they want to be on the racetrack, that's when we'll start to see the times tumble down the order. So intrigued to see, this will be kind of our first look at when that banker lap's going to be. But for the 206 Sportsman, it's a little bit different than what you'll see for like the KA Senior guys, where tire temp is a lot more important for those guys, and you'll really see that window. So yeah, this is going to be really intriguing to see. And then we see Danny O'Gara, lap 1, of course, top the timing sheets, puts 5/10 on second place there of Kason Hendrickson.
Yeah, so a good start so far for Daniel Guerra in this 206 Sportsman qualifying session. You see him there on your screens in the MPG Motorsports machine, working his way through the bowl section of the racetrack there. But a lot of good drivers out here. I believe we have 19 total getting set to take the green flag in 206 Sportsman here today, and this is only one half of our classes that we're going to see cycle through here in the AM groups, and then later on today we're going to have the PM groups where it's going to go from warm-up to qualifying and then straight to racing action. But that's all going on later today here in the morning. It's all about our 206 Sportsman, where Danny O'Gara, almost the second clear off 53.982 last time by on his third lap. And like you were mentioning, Alex, about tire wear and tire warm-up, I mean, you're seeing Danny O'Gara doing a good job there on that third lap to really get those tires in that window to set in that lap time.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's walk you through a lap here. As we cross the front straightaway here to follow, I believe that's going to be the 24 there. That's going to be Austin Taylor. He's our second place driver as it stands. Fast turn 1. Then you have a fast back section of the racetrack as well. And then you get to the back straightaway here. And now the back straight's going to lead into a quick chicane into the bowl section. There's the chicane. It's going to be a left, right, and then onto this super banked corner for these young kids. It's going to feel like Daytona International Speedway out there. And then you round the banked corner into a tight hairpin, one of the best passing zones that we see on this racetrack. But then there's a switchback corner here where you have to make a tight right-hander, hug it right, because the next corner is a fast left that leads onto the front straightaway. So, yeah, this track, technical, decently tight, room for passing, but not a lot of room for error for these young drivers here with 57 seconds left in the qualifying session as it stands. It's still going to be Danny O'Gara, but only by 3/10 now over Titus Roberts, Austin Taylor in third there. Then it's Elam Stoner, and it's going to be Dominic Gaddis. That's your top 5 as it stands. 6/10 separates Danny O'Gara from your 5th place driver.
Yeah, so a good start so far, like we were saying, for Danny O'Gara. But the fact that this racetrack is super tight and technical and a lot of corners here is going to be super hard for any of these drivers to really try and pull away from the rest of the field. So it doesn't matter how big the gap is when it comes to racing action. We're going to be expecting to see a lot of these drivers stay close together all race long. So for Danny O'Gara, just has to set in that lap time so he can start further up the field. And there goes Roberts, who sets another good flying lap time that time by for Titus Roberts, a 43.749 there. So a good lap that time by. And then Thomas able to slot himself up into that second spot as well. So a lot of these drivers already challenging Danny O'Gara here in this one.
Yeah, Dylan Thomas there, as he crossed the checkered flag, puts himself P2 ahead of Titus Roberts. Still a couple of drivers left to cross the line. Austin Taylor puts his personal best. Not enough to improve, though. He stays 4th. Elam Stoner improves as well, but he stays 5th. So, as it stands, unless, Kason Hendrickson's going to put himself in 6th, Will Feitinger is going to drop down the order. How about it for Blake Martinez on the last lap? Pulls one out of the hat there, and he goes to the top of the board on 43.345. Puts a 10th on him in the field. So Daniel O'Gara moves down to 2nd place. There's the 202. That's going to be Kason Hendrickson. Right after he crossed the start-finish line there, lost his right rear tire and spun before he could enter the pit lane. So a really interesting, unusual scenario there for Casey Hendrickson. Good job for him to get off the racetrack there. But yeah, right after his tire, he just went and grabbed his tire, slams his tire. So he's clearly not too happy with his go-kart there, failing on them. But yeah, interesting stuff to see there for Casey right after he crossed the line to lose. Right as he crossed the stripe. I will say, what was impressive about that from Casey, when he crossed the line, that was his personal best, and he crossed it backwards. So who knows what that lap could have been if the tire didn't fall off. But yeah, really interesting, unusual situation for the 202 there. Fortunately, he's okay, and no one else was collected in that spin. But Blake Martinez on the last lap, some heroics there in qualifying, puts it on pole. O'Gara second, Thomas third, Roberts fourth, Austin Taylor. That's your top 5 in 206 Sportsman.
Yeah, so, I mean, a good start of the day so far here in this one. On track now is your 206 Cadets, where we'll have 5 go-karts hit the racetrack here in this one. It's going to be the 33 of Reagan Hodges. It's going to be the 31 of Brett Hastings, the 15 of Chase Call, the 538 of Patrick McNeely, and the 16 of Audrey Luttrell. So 5 drivers getting set to go green, and as we already saw earlier today, I mean, we had a barn burner of a qualifying session, and I expect the exact same from these 206 cadets here, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Sportsman guys made it hard to top there, but like you said, only 5 guys in the 206 cadet class doesn't mean they can't put on a show for us here qualifying in the heat races later this afternoon. So yeah, a 5-minute qualifying session, already 3 minutes, 50 seconds left. Goes to show you how fast time can fly sometimes here at the racetrack and here for our qualifying session. So first lap in the books, Reagan Hodges puts 1.2 seconds on herself and the field there. Brett Hastings, Chase Call, Patrick McNeely, Audrey Luttrell there. So Reagan so far looking so good. Obviously 3.5 minutes to go. You know, we saw Blake Martinez there, outside your top 5 in the 206 Sportsman class for majority of that session, top the board. So anything's possible here in qualifying, and with 3 minutes 45 seconds left, you see these 206 cadet drivers all spread out here. The only driver who may have a tow is Chase Call there on Brett Hastings. How about it for Brett Hastings? Speaking of which, 2 tenths now between himself and Reagan Hodges out front. Chase Call puts himself within 9 tenths of pole. So the field is starting to close here. I think what we're seeing is the first lap, you know, tires are cold, track's cold. It's 44 degrees out here in Whiteland, Indiana. So lap 2, lap 3, you're going to see the tires start to heat up, and I expect lap 4 to be probably the money lap for these drivers.
Yeah, so like you said, right, I mean, we saw around the 3rd and 4th lap for Danny O'Gara was his quickest, and as well for Martinez, who was able to put it on the pole. So we're going to see what these drivers can do and when they can really, you know, set in that flying lap time. But for Reagan Hodges there, she crosses a stripe that time improves by a little bit. But like we're expecting, Alex, it's going to be lap 3 or 4. That's going to be prime time for these tires and for these drivers to really, you know, kind of set themselves as well in that groove where, you know, you've already been pushing for 2 laps. I got a feel for the racetrack earlier today in the morning, and then just, you know, with good preparation for this qualifying session, and then lap 3 and 4, like we said, right? That's really going to be the money lap for these boys and girls.
Yeah, I always find it interesting during the qualifying sessions to kind of get an idea of the different lines that we've seen drivers take here. We see the 206 cadet drivers, with this being one of the slower classes available, they have to keep their hands as smooth as anybody out there to carry the speed as best as possible here. We're watching Reagan Hodges. She hasn't moved that wheel once. She's got this car on rails through the section of the racetrack there, the left, right, and then back left towards the back straightaway, now up on the wheel there with 1:15 to go through the fast left-right chicane. You can't afford any steering movement through there. You want to keep it as straight as possible down the banked corner and then down the back straight towards the hairpin section of the racetrack. We're seeing all these drivers do a great job, but we're seeing Reagan, I'm telling you, look at her hands, super smooth, and it's so important in the 206 cadet class to make that happen. You don't want to have too much hand movement, otherwise it's not going to be a good time. in the 206 classes there, as Reagan Hodges crosses the line to improve her lap. So too does Brett Hastings, though, puts himself within 200th of that pole position lap. So I think as of right now, with 40 seconds left, we have maybe 2 laps left in this qualifying session. This is a mano-a-mano fight between Hodges and Hastings out front. Chase Call is 7/10 back, and then McNeely and Luttrell are about 2 seconds back from pole position.
Yeah, so very tight-knit qualifying here as we get to the closing stages of the session here. You see the timing there at the top of your screen. Only 30 seconds to go left in this qualifying session. Hodges still holds on to that pole position with a 45.705, but Hastings already challenging only 200ths of a second off. And then you see, I think that's Hodges who's going to encounter some traffic there on that lap. So this may be a burner here as she continues to try and solidify her pole position starting spot later today. As into the bull corner there she goes. And let's see where the 31 of Brett Hastings, what can that driver do to try and deny Reagan Hodges of her pole position here today. There goes Hodges. She's getting set to cross the line. Can she improve? She can't, but she will get that checkered flag that time by. So yeah, she doesn't improve, but for Hastings, I don't think he was able to get it done either. So I think it's going to be Reagan Hodges who is able to get the pole position here in this one, Alex, with a best lap time of a 45.705. Hastings can only put it up to second. It's going to be Call in that third spot, McNeely in fourth, and Luttrell, Shotgun Charlie on the field later today, and getting set to start fifth here, Alex.
Yeah, so Hodges had a Hastings there. 200ths of a second separates first and second place here in 206 Cadet. That bodes well for some good action in the heat races later today, or later this morning, should I say. Yeah, maybe only 5 drivers in the class, but it only takes 2 to tango. So I think we're in for a pretty good treat here in 206 Cadet. Coming up next, I believe, is going to be your 206 Senior qualifying. That's going to be a really fun one there, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely going to be super fun. I mean, I know a couple of the MPG mechanics have, kind of been getting into the mix and wanting to race here. So, I mean, that's always pretty cool to see, right? And then one thing that I always, can't fail to mention is the various different manufacturers in this 206 Senior class. So, as all these drivers hit the racetrack, let's give you a quick rundown here down your field. We have Gensheimer in the 919. In the 19 is going to be McCarker Cadell. Sorry if I said that wrong. It's Wilbur in the 06. It's going to be Elijah Fox in the 01. It's going to be Johnson in the 26. Geest in the 531. Howerton in the 78. Peebles in the 65. Sappenfield in the 4. Mayfield in the 28. Galicia in the 10, Baird in the 29, Thornton in the 84, D'Alessio in the 31, Landon in the 02, Justiniano in the 48, and Greenwood in the number 3 card. So 17 drivers total getting set to take the green flag here at the Indy Karting Challenge for your 206 Senior Medium qualifying.
Yeah, so already a minute in the books here of our 5-minute qualifying. Lap 1 is done and dusted. Ryan Gensheimer gets out to an early lead here, 1.2 second advantage here over the rest of the field in qualifying as it stands. But as we saw in 206 Cadet, first, couple laps don't really matter that much, but it gives you a good idea of how your car's handling through the opening stages of qualifying there. So there goes Ryan Gensheimer. He's going to cross the line. Eli Fox going to cross the line there to go into the top 5. Jared Howerton is going to eclipse Gensheimer there to open up this qualifying section at a 44.608. But something to always note, the 206 Senior Medium guys never fail to put on a show. You can always expect some close driving here. I mean, 3/10 separating your top 5 of Howerton, Gensheimer, Corkadale, Fox, and Wilbur. Then it's going to be Gavin Baird in 6 as it stands. Braden Johnson Gage Justiniano, Braden Stappenfield, and Kyler Peebles there is your top 10. There's Ryan Gensheimer on your screen as it stands. He's a 919, is on the MGM chassis, crosses the stripe. He goes purple, 42.631. That's an absolute flyer there from Gensheimer. He puts a second on the field right now.
Yeah, I mean, a flying lap time, that time by a flying lap, I should say, there by Gensheimer, who has a good gap further back to the other 16 drivers that are challenging him there on the racetrack now. So let's see if Gensheimer can hold on to that, or if anybody else can get up there and challenge the 919 machine. As more and more drivers continue to cycle through, but man, what a lap time that time by for Gensheimer. Like you were saying, Alex, I mean, the toe, isn't too effective at a track that's so small, but I mean, it still helps out. The engine hits a very different rev whenever you're sitting behind somebody else, and really comes into its own as compared to when you're running on your own.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the draft will always help, but there you see Ryan Gensheimer doesn't need a toe to put a flyer down. Levi Wilbur now puts himself in the second, 6/10 between himself and Gensheimer. Howerton's going to slot in the third there, 7/10 between him and pole position. Eli Fox improves on his lap last time by to be within 9/10 of the MGM driver there. But you see Ryan continuing to extend his advantage on the field in terms of lap time across the line this time by. Doesn't improve his lap time for the rest of the field, though. It's a bunch of blue behind them. So Jared Howerton now 43 flat starts to close the gap even more on Gensheimer. 4/10 now between himself and pole position. Eli Fox in third, but Corkadale puts himself in fourth. Then it's Wilbur in fifth. Then it's a huge gap from fifth to sixth. 6/10 separates fifth and sixth there of Braden Johnson and Levi Wilbur. But out front, I will say Ryan Gensheimer, his best lap came on lap 3, but since then hasn't improved, whereas the rest 2 through 7 all improved last time by. So maybe tire pressures are a little bit different for himself and the rest of the field across the stripe. No improvements there for Ryan Gensheimer, but improvements for Jared Howerton, a 42.942. But Corkadale improves again. He puts himself 3/10 from the pole, and then Eli Fox puts himself almost 4/10 from himself in pole position. So something to note for the heat races and the feature races. I'm sure Gensheimer is going to come in the pits and kind of tell his mechanics, listen, we got to go a little bit lower on the tire pressures here because his best lap came on lap 3, which is perfect for a qualifying session. But the last couple of laps, the likes of Howerton, McCorkadale, Fox, and others were actually faster than Gensheimer at the latter stage of this qualifying session. So I think in terms of heat racing and the feature races later this morning in the afternoon time, we should have some pretty exciting stuff here. So it's going to be Gensheimer on pole. Eli Fox puts his personal best on the last lap to go second, 2/10 away from what Ryan is able to do. Howerton puts himself third, McCorkadale in fourth, Levi Wilbur, that's going to be your top 5 as it stands, but there's still more crossing the line there. Rodolfo Galacia, he puts himself 6th on some last lap heroics there. Braden Johnson 7th, Gavin Baird 8th, Kyle Landon 9th, and Gage Justiniano, that's your top 10 in senior medium.
Yeah, what a top 10, and I mean, what a qualifying session did we just witness here in this one. We still have, I believe, 3 more classes left in this morning's section. You've seen the Sportsman, you've seen the Cadets, and you've seen the seniors all hit the racetrack here, Alex, and it's been super action-packed as well.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, it's going to be your 206 juniors. Only 4 are in that class, but again, doesn't take many drivers to put on a good show for us. The junior class is going to consist of Gabriel Payne, Lucian Laser, Evan Patton, and Colin Harden. That's your 206 junior class that are going to get ready to hit the racetrack any moment now once the 19 senior medium drivers get off the track and into the scale area there. But like we mentioned, a good qualifying session. The timing says 3/10 between pole and second place, but I will say this much: if the latter part of that qualifying is anything to go off of, I think the heats are going to be very exciting to watch. Of course, with the drafted play for senior classes, we have a spinner there further back in this opening lap of the junior qualifying. That's going to be Colin Harden, the number 11 machine. Cold tires got the better of him there. The cold tire monster strikes again, I'll say, and it's easy to do that. Out of the pits, you're excited to go, you're eager to go, and your tires don't cooperate with your input there. So unfortunate for Colin Harden, because he's going to be separated now from the group, which he would have hoped to be a part of with the draft. So if I'm Colin Harden, right, I'm backing off, burning a lap here and saying, okay, I want to go and get a tow from these guys, because these three are going to, work together most likely during this qualifying session there. 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in this qualifying session. The out lap puts Gabriel Payne on top. He was the guy that was on top in the warm-up session this morning by a pretty hefty margin there. So no surprise to see him 9/10 clear. But again, just the out lap. We'll see lap times continue to tumble here. They're doing 50 seconds right now. Their warm-up lap times were in the 44s. So yeah, for sure, we'll expect lap times to really start to tumble here as tire temp increases. But there's the 45 machine, Gabriel Payne, sliding through the hairpin there. You can still see the grip is not where he would want it to be, but still more grip than the drivers behind him. There's Lucian Laser, there's Evan Patton working together. These two drivers are going to hope to push each other to see if they can match or attempt to match what Gabriel Payne is doing out front. Right now, they need 1.5 seconds to find.
Yeah, so 1.5 seconds to find for all these drivers if they want to challenge the likes of the 45 of Gabriel Payne here in this one. So some time to find and some lap times to set if they want to get up there and challenge for the race win and heat win later today. And Tyler, a little bit of a mistake there going into the hairpin, but sorry, Alex, as you mentioned, earlier today, finding that right window, the perfect window to really take you the entire length of the heat races and then of the main event later today, it's going to be super important for these drivers, right? It's going to be almost key whenever you get to that senior medium class where there's 17 other drivers, looking for the same thing you are, right? Some hardware here at the Indy Karting Challenge. So, it's really going to be important for them to try and find that perfect setup to really put themselves in contention to challenge here for a race win. So, setup's going to be one thing, trying to find the right tire pressure, which all goes into it, and then consistency around a really tight-knit racetrack that's so technical is going to be absolutely key here today as well.
Yeah, something to note here, the qualifying session is 5 minutes. The heat race is also 5 minutes, but then you got to add 2 laps to that. So essentially, basically the same session from qualifying to the heat race. So the lap times you'll see that in qualifying and the overall, trajectory of your tire, whether it gets better or gets worse, is going to remain the same during qualifying and the heats. So that's why I was saying, I bet you Ryan Gensheimer is going to look back at his lap times and say, okay, we need to go lower the pressures here, because if this is a heat race, they would have caught up to me, right, for the senior medium guys. So I think here you're seeing Lucian Laser start to improve his lap times a little too late here, but it bodes well for him in the heat races, like I said, because if this was a heat race, it would be a minute to go plus 2 laps, and his lap times began to improve as the session goes on. Gabriel Payne puts a 44.621. Lucian Laser puts 5/10 between him and Gabriel Payne. That's the closest margin that we've seen all morning long here in the 206 junior class. Gabriel Payne putting the fastest lap of the day in 206 junior. But like I said, Lucian Laser close enough to where if he can get that lap time early in the session, he might be able to get within a drafting range to get closer to what Payne's been able to do. Further back, Evan Patton, Colin Harden. That's your top 4 in 206 junior. But yeah, you're looking at Gabriel Payne now. His hands much quieter than what they were in the first couple of laps there. Tire temp is where he'd want it to be. There's Lucian Laser as well. Still a little bobble on the exit there. Not as much for Evan Patton. But overall, these drivers still going to fight grip throughout the day, because again, 44 degrees here in Whiteland, Indiana. A warm day here for the Midwest. A beautiful day, no clouds in the sky, and we saw the weather app earlier in the broadcast, and we saw just straight sun all the way through, which is what you always love to see here. A beautiful day to go racing on Saturday, April the 20th here, round 3 of the Indy Karting Challenge, as qualifying here gets set to wrap up for the 206 junior guys. One more lap before everybody. Colin Harden got the checkered flag early there because he had the spin in the first lap there, so he missed out. But as we have the last couple drivers crossing the stripe, Payne couldn't improve. Lucian Laser has one more chance and puts 2/10 between him and Payne. So what a lap for Lucian Laser. Wow, that was an impressive lap there. A 44.4 for Payne, a 44.6 for Lucian Laser. So I'm pretty sure he's going to come back in the pits and be pretty happy with that one, considering the warm-up session, he needed to find 8/10. Now he only needs to find 2/10. And like I mentioned, in the heat races, this is going to bode well for Laser, as I would say that puts him now easily within drafting range.
Yeah, no, correct. So, I mean, good that he found that pace there here in this qualifying session, with a lot more racing action getting set to go your way. That's 4 classes down, 2 more to go left for the AM groups. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge. Don't go anywhere.
Alright, and we're back here at Whiteland Raceway Park. We just saw our 206 juniors come off the racetrack and get replaced by the 206 Masters drivers now. This is their out lap here. There's a good view of the 24 of Troy, Tony. Let's run you through your order there. So it's going to be Tony, then David Galaunia, JB Williams, then it's going to be Kevin Simonelik, Adam Deitz, then it's going to be the likes of Matt Geis, Josh Lockhart in the 7 machine there, Michael Schaefer, the 19, and then Eric Patton. That's going to be your 9-cart field here in 206 Masters. A bunch of different manufacturers looking down the order there. So let's see as they cross the stripe. What's the first lap going to say? Troy Tony a 48.6, Matt Gase a 48.7. Then down the order, 49.8, 50.2, 51.6, 52 flat. And the rest of the field follows through here. But as we saw from most of the classes today, it seems as though whoever gets pole puts their lap in on lap 4 or 5, and then, you know, 2nd through 5th start to come back and put their personal bests later on in the session. So again, that's just a tire pressure thing, but that seems to be the trend as it stands throughout this morning warm-up and qualifying sessions here. So here's a look at the 24 machine, Troy Tony, around the final couple corners there. Between him and Matt Gase, it's 0.13 of a second. Now it's 3.5, but obviously now that lap 1 is in the books and lap 2 now is being complete, it is only half a tenth, between himself and Gase there. Then it's going to be Galaunia 0.2 back, JB Williams 1.3 back. So right now the top 3 have a pretty hefty advantage over 4th through 9th.
Yeah, so a good start so far for your top 3 here in this one as they continue to set in the lap times. So there on your screen, that's going to be the 24 of Troy Tony, who currently sits on the provisional pole position here in this one. There as the Burlart machine right behind him of Geist, if I'm not mistaken, who actually just went quickest, so a 44.195 for the 531 machine, who just puts himself on the provisional pole. So that's either, I think that's the 46, if I'm not mistaken here, Alex, of David Colonia there in the Burlart, behind the 24 here of Tony. But yeah, it's currently the 531 who puts it on the provisional pole position. Lap time, like we said, a 44.195. And, you know, as expected, Alex, right? Lap number 3, tires get into that window. Driver gets into his window as well and sets in that flying lap.
Yeah, Tony topped the board for a moment there before Matt Gase reclaimed that top spot. 43.776, 0.2 between himself and Tony. A minute and a half here left in this qualifying session. It flies by. around a 43-second racetrack when you have 5 minutes for a qualifying session. Usually takes about a minute to get around for the first lap, so really it's a 4-minute qualifying session. And then, like you said, lap 3, lap 4 is usually the window, plus a few laps if you feel like it there, as I believe. That's going to be Troy Tony in the pits. He said, I'm done. I'm going to save my tires. I like the lap time that I put down. So let's see if that's going to bode well for Troy Tony there. It's already losing 1 spot. So let's keep an eye on that. He crossed the line in second, came in the pits. He's already back to third. Let's see if he can hold on to that top 3 spot. I'm sure he's not going to be too happy if he falls up to the top 5 there. But looks good so far for Tony there. It's Matt Gase still topping the time boards. This is the Burrell art machine of David Galaunia in second. He needs to find 500ths of a second to match up to what Gase was able to do. Then it's going to be Troy Tony, Michael Schaefer, J.B. Williams, and others there. No, there's a look at Troy Tony. So it was a driver that looked just like a Troy Tony's go-kart there. So Troy Tony's still on the racetrack there, which is good for Troy Tony, obviously, there. Around in the final corner, 16 seconds left, so he's going to get another lap to try to better his lap time. Not going to happen this time around. Matt Gase extends his advantage almost half a second between himself, and it was Galaunia, but now J.B. Williams goes from 5th to 2nd in 1 lap. So what a lap there for J.B. Williams, put himself 4 tenths away from a pole position there. So yeah, Matt Gase has a decent advantage over the rest of the field, and then it's a really close 2, 3, 4, and 5 here of J.B. Williams, Galaunia, Tony, Schaefer, and others there. Here's Tony, round of the final corner here to get the checkered flag. Can anybody improve their lap time? Crossing the stripe, Tony does, Galaunia does, Williams does, so everybody but Gase actually improved their lap time. So it's Matt Gase on pole position ahead of David Galaunia by 1/10, and then J.B. Williams 4 tenths back in third. Troy Tony improved his lap but remains in 4th for the 24 machine there.
Yeah, so not too bad of a qualifying session for these drivers. Like you said, Gase wasn't the only driver who wasn't able to improve there on the final lap. And for Tony, I think he was out there on the racetrack for the end of it. But, I mean, pretty good qualifying session there for your 206 Masters, where Matt Geist is going to be your pole sitter when we get to heat racing later today and main event racing shortly, I believe. So that was your 206 Masters. We do have one more class here, I believe, Alex, before we get into racing. That's going to be your 206 Lights that get going, and your KA 100 Juniors.
No, it's going to be, so after our 206 Masters here, it's actually going to be the KA Senior and KA Masters. That's going to be your last qualifying session of the morning there. You see the exhaust pipes smoking up in the air there. Okay. That's your sign of some good old 2-stroke racing here. The KA Senior guys hit the racetrack. It's going to be a pretty hefty field here for the KA Senior class, and this is your fastest class that we're going to see all day long. They can rip around Whiteland Raceway Park at about a 37-second lap time. So 6 seconds faster than what we've seen all morning long here. So these drivers really getting put to the test around this tight and technical racetrack there through the fast chicane and the banked corner. That feels pretty exhilarating here on a KA class. You see these guys using kind of the middle section of the banking there just so they don't wash up too much with how much speed that they're carrying now through this banked corner. Again, the opening lap, this is one of those classics, more than what you'll see even in the 206 class, where tire temp is going to be an issue for the first couple of laps because they're carrying more speed. They're using more of the tire. So you're going to see these guys really slide around. You're seeing, I think that's might be Charlie Steins there, sliding around quite a bit in the opening lap here. And we'll see this for about 2 or 3 laps before tire temp is up. That's AJ Lund there. Sorry. So, yeah, I think we'll see. This is lap 4, lap 5 is definitely the window here in the Senior KA Masters class. So far, it's Charlie Steins on top of the board ahead of Jackson Dial and AJ Lund. But again, the out lap doesn't mean a whole lot. There's a 39-second lap. We should see lap times down to the 37-second bracket once tire temp comes up the pace. So Jackson Dial so far 38.9. That's good enough for pole as it stands, ahead of AJ Lund, ahead of Charlie Steins, and then it's going to be Austin Fairfield and Braden Rudder. That's your top 5, but again, 3 minutes to go. The order can change and flip on its head at any moment, and if warm-up is anything to go off of, these lap times should be about a second faster.
Yeah, so lap times, like you said, should get up to a second quicker here in this one, as there go those couple of drivers. AJ Lund able to go to the top of the timing screens. Jackson Deal able to improve by a bit. Lane Gibbs up to P3. So very tight-knit qualifying here in this one, where separating yourself from the rest of the field is going to be super important, right? Because you have over 10 other drivers that can do the exact same thing and put in the exact same lap that you put in. But it's all about margins. Who's going to brake later, who's going to get on the gas a little earlier to separate themselves from the field.
Yeah, for sure. And 2 minutes 15 seconds left, so still a lot of qualifying action left. It was AJ Lund. Now it's Jackson Dial, the first driver of the 37-second bracket here in qualifying. That's about what we could expect here from the KA senior drivers on some new tires. We might see a mid-37, but as it stands, a 994 machine, 37.9, good enough for pole, 2/10 ahead of AJ Lund. Charlie Steins, 3/10 back, and then it's a huge gap back to the likes of Lane Gibbs and Braden Rudder, who actually, if you look at your timing and scoring, 4th and 5th have the same exact lap time, but Lane Gibbs did it before Braden Rudder, so that puts him 4th as it stands. I still expect some drivers to improve on their lap, and Jackson Dial is the first one to improve. He goes 200th faster, a 37.9 again for Dial there, who's in a pretty good tow behind, I believe that might be Steins in front of him there. So AJ Lund on your screen, he still sits second. He's hoping to find a tow here. The case senior guys, just like in the 206 class, it's a little bit less important, I'd say, than the 206 drivers, but a draft is always wanted. But for Jackson Dial, doesn't always need a draft, I guess, to go out there and put it on pole. 59 seconds left, going to cross the stripe here, at least a lap to go for AJ Lund. He improves a 38 flat, so he only needs now half a tenth to see if he can put himself on pole position ahead of Jackson Dial. So those tires are getting dialed in when it counts here. 40 seconds left here in qualifying, and it's a 1v1 on in the first 2 spots of the grid here. Charlie Steins 3/10 back. Lane Gibbs now improves in his lap time to put himself in 4th.
Yeah, so these drivers fighting for who will start on the inside when we go heat racing later today, or pre-final racing, I should say, later today. As there, the top cart goes through the start-finish line, as well as a couple of other drivers, with the closing stages of this one getting underway. 5 seconds left in this qualifying session, and just as I say that, I mean time runs out. Like you said, Alex, right? For these drivers, I think track position is everything in this qualifying session. You want to find that open space on the track to really be able to set in, your personal lap times and find yourself in a good space. So this is AJ Lund across the line. Can he improve? Wow. Flying lap time that time by a 37.212 to put himself on the pole position here in this one. So the top cart, top of the timing screens, and on pole when we get set to go green for our pre-final race.
I was gonna mention, I was watching AJ do that final lap, and his hands looked really smooth. The first time all qualifying session where I looked at that cart and said, okay, it's hooked up. But I mean, 7/10 was a surprising number, I think, to both of us here, considering Jackson Dial had them all beat for the first 4 minutes and 59 seconds of this qualifying session. But for AJ Lund to put 7/10 between himself and the field, that's impressive stuff in a KA senior class. So it's Lund ahead of Dial, ahead of Charlie Steins, who steals a 3rd place there, ahead of Lane Gibbs, ahead of Braden Rudder. That's your top 5 in KA 100 senior.
Yeah, so a good one, and I'm gonna stop trying to really, try and guess what classes we have next. I believe, though, we do get it all over again But we are going to have here a couple of replays here coming your way. So we saw earlier today one of those drivers going for a spin there after losing a wheel. So, you know, already the action got underway here early on. That was a 202 there. Went for a spin across the line, lost a wheel there, and then had to get it back. So that's a 33. She was able to put it on the pole position here today. So we'll see how it goes for all those drivers later today. And there go your KA seniors and masters, where it's all about AJ Lennon, the top kart and the 43 machine, who was able to put it on the pole position and solidify himself starting on the inside row.
Yeah, so we're going to go for a quick ad break, but when we return, don't forget to switch streams. We're going to go behind the paywall here for some heat and feature racing action. Do not go anywhere.